Guys, thanks for joining again. A lot of the same faces that were on Tuesday night, a few different ones, so nice to see you all. I don't need to give Darl another big introduction because everyone's getting pretty familiar with him now. For those of you that don't know him, this is Daryl Easson. Daryl's done a lot of work with Scottish hockey over the last 5, 6, 7 years or so. We've had him over here at a couple of seminars over the course of time, and this is going to be his third webinar that he's doing with us tonight in the last few weeks. We're always grateful to Darl for his willingness to help out with Scottish ice hockey and help out with the coaching programme. We had a great webinar last night where we're talking about age-specific training for under 9s and under 11s. And tonight we're going to talk about under 13s and under 15s, how to coach, how to teach, in what sequence, and in a lot of cases what's even just as important, what not to teach at these age levels as well. So usual rules, guys. If you can keep your microphones muted. If any of you have ever got any questions, you can either stick them in the chat box as you feel the need, or in case you might forget your question, or if you want to wait till the end, it's entirely up to you. And then the best way to view these is on speaker view, so that way you're looking at everybody. You're not looking at everybody on the screen, you're just looking at the person talking. So without any further ado, welcome back, Darl. So it's all yours.
Thank you, Lynchy. It's quite interesting to hear the word familiar used when you really mean to get the words getting sick of. That's thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. Sorry, I'm just looking for something because I just realized that there's something I haven't actually included in one of these presentations that I wanted to include. So of course, you know what's going to happen. I'm not going to be able to do this. All right. So I've been spending most of the afternoon. I've just come off a Zoom call, funny enough, with a learn to play program that we're doing. So we've just been doing some stuff there and going through that. And I've just come off and decided now's my time to start getting into what we're doing here in Scotland and try and go from there. No, I'm not going to be able to find this video, so I'm not even going to try. So let me go back in here and share my screen. There we go. And I'll explain what I wanted to talk about here. Okay, so now we're talking 11 to 12s, 13, under 13s, these ages here. I've also included, I've actually put together a couple of other presentations just in case we have time to talk and what you wanted to do and what they are. One's on our kids testing program. We have 5 to 6 tests that we can easily run, that you can easily run to, which are fun, and also a little bit on the final things to think about before you start going on the ice and some things like that. So hopefully we can get into some of those. So age appropriate. Well, once again, looking at from our model here in Hungary is that the kids' most important values we want youngsters to have is joy. Now, the funny thing is, living abroad for almost 20 years now, and actually longer than, 20 years now, is I've always been the one that's had to translate things into English, and do spell checks and all that, which was quite interesting because I can't spell to save my life. But I've been the one who's been doing it. So when the gentleman who's in this picture, Jim Breton, who's our development director, did these things, he changed some of these stuff from Swedish to English, and he put the word joy, and I wanted to say fun or enjoy, but you know what? The right word is joy. We want kids to come to the rink feeling joy, feeling, God, I'm so pleased to be here today. I want to play hockey. I want to go on the ice. I want to see my friends. I want to do all these things. And this is one of the things that we don't have sometimes. You know, there's a lot of people talking about the way it happens in other countries. But Jim coached in both the Ukraine and Russia. And he said he was amazed in Russia. You would get kids coming to the rink who were 13 years old, and they were like robots. Absolutely no emotion, no feeling for the game, nothing. Why? Because from the ages of 6 years old, they'd been on the ice 4 hours a day. And this was now a job to them. And there was no emotion in what they were doing. And we want to keep that with our kids. If they enjoyed coming, they'll enjoy it, and they have the joy of being there, they will stay. If they don't, they'll find other things to do. And you know as well as I do, there's lots of other things you can do, both productive and unproductive in Great Britain, same as it is in Hungary. People don't believe me about what happens with kids who are 13, 14 years old, running around the streets, drinking, breaking into cars and all that. It actually doesn't happen here. but it does because kids have got nothing to do in the evenings. And if we can keep them in the sport and have them have the joy and all these other things, then we're doing a great job for everybody, including our sport. The other values that we look at are competition. This is something that we as coaches have to have the players start to do and make the competition, so the players want to compete against each other. They want to do these things. And the final things are fair play and respect. Because in the end of the day, whatever happens in our sport affects everybody in our sport. We're not talking about one person. We're not talking about our club. We're not talking about our country. We're talking everybody. So if a youngster was to be paralyzed in wherever, everybody knows about it. You think about all the challenges that we have that you have as a minority sport. And it's made worse because everybody thinks of ice hockey, they think of people punching each other and guys with no teeth and them hitting each other with their sticks. Well, that isn't the sport I know. But that's what people think. So it's about giving the right respect to each other, giving respect to the people that are in the building that are with you, giving respect to your opponents, giving respect to your parents, your coaches, and fair play. Do the right things. There was a coach in Great Britain that once said to me, if you're not cheating, you're not trying hard enough. And I thought, I'm sorry, but that isn't my way of dealing with things. I'm not going to give away victories, but I'm sure as hell not going to cheat for them. I'm going to push it right to the edge. And if I'm cheating, I'm sure as hell not going to admit it. It's a little bit of self-worth and self-feeling the way you are. And that's what I think some of us, you have to understand, that's the way you should be feeling, and hopefully you can get your youngsters to feel the same way. So here's a chart going through a little bit of a long-term athlete development program, not exactly, but this is some of the things that you're looking at. What we've looked at over the last few days are down here, learn to play. The first ages up to 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. We're now going to look at this age, which is what we call the golden age, and you'll see why. Because this is the time that is the best time for coordination in all areas of learning skills. This is, if you can get the bases in this age, they will have those skills for life. And then slowly we start moving up, and you can see here it says these ages are flexible, of course, because they're not. These are more to your ages, under 11s, under 13s, under 15s, under 17s. These ages, and you can see we start to look at automation. Wow, must be a Hungarian word. I can't pronounce it. Automation, and this is something we've talked about a lot here. Getting players so they're automated in what they're doing. And we'll discuss that a little bit in these next two sections. Then we start getting them into becoming more performance level. So they're starting to specialize into the sport. Then very special. That we're talking, they're coming into 17 to 20 years old. We're now talking about coming into high performance. The top performance is above that age. Yes, you have the 1 or 2 players that can make this step earlier, but it isn't always. But it's about slowly going through, because guess what? Up until this age here, up until this age here, a pre-juniors, players can't play in the NHL. A lot of rinks, a lot of countries, they can't even play in their pro leagues. In Switzerland, you have to be 18 to play in their pro league. In Hungary, you have to be 17 to play in their pro league. So it is about developing the players through the levels. So when they get to these ages, they have all the skills and the ability to be able to do and play at those levels. So conceptual approach, as we've been talking about this time here, now we've gone through a lot of the fundamentals, the skating and stick handling and shooting skills. Now we're looking a little bit about positional play, starting to look and concentrate a little bit more. That doesn't mean we don't work on these other skills. It just means these are now coming in to join all these other skills that we're working on in all the other areas that we're focusing on. So golden age, here you go. So basics, it's still a great time for basics. Different motorics, same thing. Balance, great time. Reaction time, great time. Movement precision, right in that time there. Mobility, it's a great time for that. Speed, very, very good. You're just coming into endurance and you're about a couple of years off the strength. So almost all these skills, all these areas are now areas that the players can actually have their biggest and fastest growth and learning that before we start getting them into lifting weights, before we start to get them into a lot of other things. Physically, they have a great area here. This is a window, which is an area that's very, very good for teaching them. If they don't learn them at this age, it's a very, very difficult thing for them to start to learn or get a basis for these later on as they get older. So remember that, please. It's the golden years. This is a picture here of Lynchy's payment from the SIHA every week. So, oh, you're almost smiling, dude.
No comment.
No, it's something just to remember. These are the golden years. And in Switzerland, sorry, in Sweden, they're the golden years. We call them that here. The United States, same thing. They talk about this age group as being when they're just coming out of getting the basics, they're starting to understand and optimize in the basics. Now we can teach all these other things, get all these other things to go. At this age, looking at training and competitive environment, we're talking about this is when formal competition can be introduced at this stage. Really, up until a certain age, they shouldn't really be competing. There shouldn't really be championships. I know people are going to tell me, well, there's under 10 championships in this country, and you have under 9 championships. I don't know. Definitely have under 11 championships. Well, that's up to you. But I got to tell you, even in Canada, they have under 10 and under 11. And really, why? I've heard a lot of people when I was in England say, oh yeah, we won the under 10 championships. That's fantastic. But tell me in 10 years' time, are those kids still playing? Then we can see if it was a real achievement. Because what happens with it in all situations, if we start competing and winning becomes the main focus, this area here, the developmental process slows down, and sometimes disappears. So basically, competition, okay, but let's spend more time looking at the developmental process of developing the players. Competition should be limited to an area where traveling does not take too much time. I know that doesn't. I know it's not too bad in Scotland. It is. It used to be in England. In Hungary here, it's a bit of a problem. We have a Romanian club, couple of Romanian clubs that come over from Transylvania, and they'll come over for a week because it's like 700 kilometers to come over, and they'll travel around the country, then travel back. It's only their U16 team now, but it used to be a U12, under 12 and under 14 teams coming over too. And that's a bit crazy. That should not be happening. Competition should be fun, structured to address the differences in training age and abilities. In other words, play your best players against your best players, your next line against your next line, and go that way. So the players are playing against their own levels, and they're getting better during that time, and they're improving. Athletes should be recognized for their success and achievement, of course. Training should include small area games to encourage the adaptability of the skill in the game. We're not talking just about training. We're talking about cross-ice games, 3-on-3s, 4-on-4s with rules in them. I won't go too much into that. I've done a lot of programs in Scotland and in Great Britain on this, but it's very, very interesting, and it's a great way to teach too. Small area games help develop the players' decision-making abilities. Now we're talking about game sets, hockey sets. So here's your objectives. This is the learn to train age. Teach appropriate skills for this age level. The right skills and concepts at the level. So you can find out what they are, which is working on the skills and now starting them to slowly start to understand the playing one-on-ones, playing in 2s, playing in 3s. Know the fundamental age appropriate skills. Inspiring leadership from you and you actually passing it on to the players. So now the focus becomes not just what you're doing, but who how you're doing it too. Teaching the skills on the ice, but also what are you doing as a coach, what the players can focus on, and what can the players pick up that to actually take over some of the leadership chores. Create an environment where the player can learn the appropriate skills and to compete, and making the skills, making sure you concentrate on you begin concentrating on them, optimizing those skills. What does optimizing mean? Optimizing means that when they get in a situation, they automatically do it. Like that. Automatically, it happens. and they do it. Instead of having to think about it, then do it, they do it first because they've done it so many times. So it becomes automatic. And you'll see a little bit later on in these two presentations why that's important for you. Basics, practice. 90% of your practice really should be on individual skills development and small area games. Not tactics, a little bit of concepts in the small area games, but going from there. So 90% should be on those, looking at those things. Games, coach, teach the positioning and stimulate the skills and offensive mentality. The problem that we have in a lot of countries is that it's all about playing defense. That coaches spend a lot of time defensively. And you know what? When they're kids, they don't need to play defensively. Why? Why? Here you go. I'll give you two examples. NHL. Do you know most of the guys that are blebs in the NHL that are fourth liners and they're just grinders and all that? Do you know when they played in junior hockey, they were fantastic goal scorers because they were great hockey players. But what happens is, as they move forward, then they realize, I'm not as good. I'm good, but I'm not as good as Connor McDavid. I'm good, but I'm not as good as Austin Matthews. If I want to make it to the NHL and stay there, I got to learn some other skills. And that's when they start to develop the defensive side of their games and the physical sides of their games in those type of things. Work on the positive offensive mentalities. Because in the end of the day, if somebody's doing something offensively, how do you stop them? You develop a way for the kids to think about how they do that defensively. How do we stop them like that? As I said to you, when one of the first times, not one of the first times, but just before I started working there, I came over here in 2013. And the Great Britain team was playing here at the World Championships. And the coach for the Hungarian team, he was a Canadian guy, and he had the team trapping, doing a 1-3-1 trap, which is the old Swedish trap that they put together to stop the Russians. And it worked pretty effectively, except that they didn't get promoted. They came in third, the Hungarians did. Unfortunately, that was the year the British got relegated down a level. But do you know what the knock-on effect was? That was, of course, it was probably a pretty good result because they didn't have the skills to play against your Kazakhstans of this world and the Germanys at that time and the Italians. But do you know what happened? We had all teams here. When I got here, all teams trapped. Under 12s, under 14s, under 16s, U8s and U10s backed off the puck. And it's taken us 5 to 7 years to stop players from doing that and for them to attack the puck. Be offensive. So what you're doing is you're being offensive when you don't even have the puck. Go get the puck. That's attacking the puck. Get it. Don't back off the players. It's taken us a long time to do that. You look at our senior team, they still play that way at times because they come from that era. But that's why teach the offensive side first, and then they will slowly, as they get older, then you can start to teach the defensive side. Focus on individual development and not the outcome. First priority, individual tactics, technical skills. And that's what we're looking for, is focus on the development. Because honestly, I get it from nations. I'll give you an example. Somebody goes, oh yes, we won the under 14 championship last year. That's great. But you live in Spain. And I've got nothing against Spain. I love it as a country, actually, and I've been there many times, doing some stuff for them on this weekend. But who really cares if you win the under 14 championships in the Basque region of Spain? What you really want to know is how many players did you get that made senior hockey? How many players that maybe made it to the national team? Of course, how many players made the NHL? But let's go at this slowly. How many players do you know that when you coach them up, they became really, really good people? That's what we're looking at. That's what we want to do. Not win games. Yes, winning is nice. Losing isn't great, but it can't be the first priority. The final thing here we have is learn the fundamental sports skills. So you're going to say, what the hell are fundamental sports skills? Sorry, I'm going to have to go backwards a little bit here to explain. In long-term athlete development, in the learning of skills, there's a process. Go from fundamental movement skills, which are things like the ABCs, ability, agility, balance, and coordination. We talked about that. If a kid can't walk and chew gum walking on the street, there's very little things he's going to be able to do. So we teach those. That's where we start at. Then we move out to fundamental movement skills. Things like running, jumping, throwing, catching, and those things. Then we move to sports specific skills is what we're talking about here. So this is concepts such as evasion, scoring, shooting with a stick, doing these types. And then finally, we go to sport hockey specific or sport specific skills. You can develop some of the stages at the same time, but don't do this because you can't. Do you know one of the reasons we don't teach kids to take slap shots, proper slap shots when they first come on the ice? Because they can't skate. They don't have balance. And if you take the slap shot, it's all about balance. So it's basically the learning process that we go through. And what we're talking about here is fundamental sports skills, including game-based concepts such as evasion, scoring, and shooting. Some of the other things we're looking at here: throwing with an instrument, dribbling now, kicking. Obviously, you apply some of this to hockey too. Receiving passes, giving passes, shooting. Now we're starting to slowly work our way through. And these are some of the things that we're looking at. We're also looking at awareness. What's going on around you? Should I pass that person? Should I move to another place that I can get a pass from people? These are fundamental skills, sports skills that are all skilled. You know, what's the difference between football and hockey? Not the difference between football and hockey, except for the money, of course, is that we play on ice, they play on a field. Do you know what? Hockey is a ball sport. Ice hockey is a ball sport. It's the same as football. It's the same as rugby. It's the same as handball. They play a lot of handball here. It's a similar type of sport. So we can learn from these other sports, but they have to have a certain skill set before we can teach them the sports specific skills. And as I said in the last slide, work your way through those skills. Sometimes maybe you get a kid you can teach 2 or 3 things to immediately, teaching balance on the ice. But if you got a kid who can't walk or can't walk very well, or he's running and falling down, maybe we should definitely look at balance when he gets onto the ice. And then when they get that, then you can also got the sport specific skills there. Okay, there's some other things, some basics that we can look at. Ratio of game training to matches, 70-30. Teach them and then let them play. Teach them, then they play occasionally. So a lot of places, North America is bad for this. Canada definitely. Way too many games, way too few practices. So the players don't have the basis. A lot of players don't have the basis to be able to move forward and develop all the skills. Keep the top level as broad as possible. So keep the best players with the lesser players. It gives the players greater success and pushes the lesser players to emulate, to maybe be as good as some of these better players. Yes, you can move your better players up to the higher levels so they can learn and they can do the same thing from there, but they should also be leaders, and this helps them be leaders at the ages that they're at. Twice a week prior to practice, spend 30 minutes, a minimum of 30 minutes off ice, working on fundamental movement skills. Overall physical skills include coordination, balance, speed, and some hockey skills, stick handling, and doing things like that. I include this, and I've included some stuff later on about this because I don't know what it's like now, but I know the worst part of my teaching ability and my knowledge is off-ice training. That's because I did most of my growing in hockey as a coach in Britain, and it was non-existent when I was playing and non-existent when I coached. And it's very, very, very important for your players if they can actually do these things. And they actually do this because it adds to those quote unquote 10,000 hours we were talking about the other night. All levels should receive the same number of ice sessions and touches on the ice. Practice multiple activities like similar ball sports thing. So playing football, playing handball, playing rugby in a class, on the off ice, anything like that, where they're passing the ball, that's very much the same as hockey. Put rules in like you would do in cross ice hockey. There you go. So I don't want anybody to have heart attacks here, but this is what top nations look at doing with their players. 4 to 5 ice touches a week, plus off ice, this age. 60 to 75-minute practice sessions, 9-month training competition calendar, having between 15 and 16 skaters and 2 goalkeepers per team for the games. And if you have more than that, make more teams. 30 to 40 games during the season, plus 1 or 2 tournaments. 25 to 30 players and 3 or 4 goalies per group in practice, not traveling too far. I don't want to brag, but that's what we have here in Hungary. This is it. It's not great, but these are pretty much the club I'm working with right now. They have 3 to 4 practices for their U8s, their U10s, and their U12s. Don't have off-ice training. That's something we're trying to work on. But this is what we're looking at. One of the challenges I found here was when I came to Hungary, there was a lot of great things going on, but they compared themselves to other nations like your Belgiums and Netherlands, which aren't bad hockey nations. They're okay hockey nations, but they were getting 1 practice, 2 practice a week. And I'm saying, why don't we compare ourselves to Sweden and the Czech Republic? Oh, we're so far away from them. Well, we have as many practices as they do. Our kids play almost as many games as they do. And we have seasons pretty much the same. We work off. Why don't we do that? And that slowly started to happen here. We're looking upwards and we're trying to push upwards in these situations. So this is what we expect now here in Hungary from our teams. And you say with these numbers, I'm going to show you some things on cross ice hockey, but there's a couple of clubs here that have 85 under 10s. And they can practice 3 times a week. That's it. So what they have to do, they have to go in stations and they have to practice all the time in stations. So they have 6 teams or 7 teams playing cross ice hockey during the weekend. 1A team, 3B teams, 3C teams, something like that. So they can go to tournaments all the time. They split their numbers up. They don't send the players away. They just find ways of having them on the ice that can work with them too. So there is always times ways of making things work here. Key focus, basics, coordination, motor skills, speedness, and quickness. And this is the time now that speed and quickness are very, very important in the game now. And this is when they can learn that and develop that a lot. So as a coach, we can actually concentrate on those things and work through that. Develop strong ice hockey technical skills. And now the players can start to understand and learn the positions and different areas in full ice. Because now you're starting to make that change from half ice to full ice. That's cross ice to full ice. So now they can understand where they kind of should be and the way it should be done. But slowly right now. Because there's a thing about what happened. I'll give you an example. Last year, I think I told you yesterday, we went with our U8s and U10s. We made them 5-on-5 cross ice, and a lot of people were up in arms. Oh, I don't want to do it like this and all these things. But then what happened was the coaches then started to go 3 forwards, 2 defensemen, because that's the way we have to play. Why? You don't do that when you're 3-on-3. You don't do that if it's 4-on-4. So why at 8 years old do we have to do it? They wouldn't just let the kids play and say, if we have the puck, go get it. If they attack our net, everybody come back. There's your concepts. There's your tactics that you're using. Don't you stay on the right-hand side, you stay on the left hand. Just play and understand what it is. And these are some of the things that now when you get to the 11, 12, 10, 11, 12 age, now we're talking about to understand if they're put on as a right winger, what their jobs are, what they should be doing in those areas, what they should be doing as defensemen. So here's your 4 skills. Tight turns, your technical skills. Pivots forward to backwards, backwards to forwards. We've got them doing both. We have them. We probably taught them some things. Now we're concentrating it so they can do it automatically and they can do it well. Quick feet on the skating push. Very, very quick. When they're crossing over, when they're pivoting, when they're moving their feet, taking off. So these are the things. Angling now. We're talking a little bit about angling and body contact and teaching checking. So now we're working through some of the concepts on body contact. And first of all is angling, and then how you take the body, how you take a check, how you receive a check. Individual skills, what you should be doing in a one-on-one situation. What we should be doing on a give and go in the open ice, which a lot of kids, as we said yesterday or the other day, you pass and you watch. No, you pass and you go, get yourself open. Don't even, we play some games off ice with kids in hockey schools, and it's with a basketball or a football. And what you should do is you pass to one guy. When the guy has the ball, he can't move. You know what everybody else on his team does? They don't move neither. They just stand there yelling, "Throw me the ball, throw me the ball." Well, 6 or 7 kids are jumping all over him. And what does he do? He doesn't care. He couldn't give a shit, really. He just throws the ball anywhere. You start telling the kids, no, hold on, let's think about what we're doing here. If he has the ball, get open for it. And if you pass the ball, you get yourself open so you can get the ball back. And then kids started to understand that. And if you do that off ice, you can actually go on the ice, but they actually learn that too. The basic 4 roles. 1, player with the puck. 2, player supporting the guy with the puck. 3, guy guarding the puck carrier. 4, guarding the guy without the puck carrier. Start to do that. And it's easy on one-on-ones because this is rule 1. This is rule 3. Now, if you go 2-on-0s, that's 1 and 2, we're working together. Now, if you go 2-on-2, guess what? You have all 4 rules working. So that's the step-by-step process of teaching youngsters what they should be doing. Support, pressuring, getting themselves open, doing those type of things. Pressure and closing the gaps. Win the battle, take the puck, play and score, and then good habits. Good habits like if a guy's got the puck, always go on the goal side of him. I love that word. That came from England. Britain. The goal side. Make sure players always, if they're going to defend, you defend from the goal side. It's a very simple skill. Here's another really easy skill. Angling, great. But you know a really good way to angle? Body to body, stick to stick. So you always have your stick where the puck is. You go to the guy with the puck. If he's got it on one side, you put both hands onto your forehand side. You put one hand on your backhand side. So if he wants to make a pass, he has to make the pass through your stick. Those aren't difficult concepts to learn, even at this age. When you go to the man, make sure your stick is where the puck is, if he's got the puck. Technical skills. Needs a lot of practicing and repetitions. Lots and lots and lots and lots. And it takes a lot of time. But the goal is automated technical skills. Make sure that they're automated all the time so that they can actually do these things without thinking. It becomes automatic. Pure skill training. What do we mean by pure skills training? If you're going to practice skating. But practice it and make it enjoyable. Make it fun. Things like tag, things like teach the skill and play a game that works with the skill. But practice skating. When practice stick handling, stick handle. Make sure they're stick handling. They're going around people, or they've got to beat people, or they've got to go around things, and they're doing that. One of our challenges with stick handling is this. When we teach stick handling, a lot of times we're standing still. Well, in a game, we don't stand still. So you teach the skills so they learn how to roll the wrist, then get them moving, and then teach them if they're skating in the ice and there's nobody to stick handle around, don't stick handle, just push the puck and go. We have actually got teams teaching that here in Hungary because there's so much teaching the stick with sweet hands and really soft hands. And then when they're skating by themselves, they're doing the same thing in the middle of the ice. There's no one near them. We've got them doing one thing. Have them, if you have to teach them those things, but teach stick handling. When we're passing and receiving, teach, pass and receive. Have them passing and receiving. Finally, when practicing shooting, shoot. Okay, so you're gonna look at me and say, are you stupid? We can figure this out. Reason I tell you this is this. How many times have you said that? How we're gonna work on a drill and it's, why don't you take a piece of paper, write a drill up. Okay, fantastic. And then you see what the drill is. It's gonna be a shooting drill, fantastic. So the guy goes in he gets the puck in the corner, he passes it to the guy at the blue line. He gets it back from the blue line. He then stick handles through 15 cones, and then he goes and takes a shot. That's not a shooting drill. There is a shot in it, but that's not a shooting drill. It's more of a stick handling drill. If they're going to shoot, shoot. Like I said, pick a figure. They should have 200 shots in this practice if we're going to be working on shooting. In this drill, they should, every player, my goal is for them to have 15 shots. 10 of them standing still, 5 of them moving, whatever. But shooting, if they're going to pass, pass. Because if not, lots of coaches decide to get really, really complicated. No, make it simple. If they're going to do it, especially at this age. This is the age now. They need to be, they're ready to be told, we're going to do it like this, and this is how you want to do it. We have a challenge here that when the kids go to shoot, they have to do one extra movement before they shoot. No, come around this, just move, just shoot the puck. But because that's the way we've been taught to shoot. So there's a few things we have to break down. If you're going to teach shooting, have them shoot against the boards to start with till we get the shot perfect. I'm shooting normal shots where we're going weight transfer from the stick to the leg to the other leg and forward, and then turn them sideways so they're facing forward to the boards, and we're shooting that way because that's the way most people shoot nowadays. How to get the weight transfer from the body through the stick, through the ice, through the puck, and then step forward, and then have them start moving. That's shooting practice. Other things is if we're just teaching to shoot, don't use a net, because now kids are looking at trying to score. Now, okay, that's another thing that we'll talk about a little bit later. We'll talk on the other section. Right now, if you were looking at shooting, teach the shots. Make sure they could shoot the pucks and concentrate on the shooting. When they're okay or pretty good, then we can start looking at taking the shots and then them going, trying to score because there's a goalie in there. Once again, 1,000 hours, 1,000 times, whatever. People will tell you this is true, this isn't true, whatever. Know what it means? If you want to be good, you want to be great, you have to keep practicing and practicing and practicing and practicing. Doing these things over and over and over and over again. Because if you don't, you're not gonna have that skill. It's not gonna be automated, and you're probably not gonna have the skill yourself. Right at golden period. You have to understand these are the years during puberty too. So we have players, some of them are, they look like 16-year-olds, and some of them look like 8-year-olds. You have to you have to work on the things, but work on the levels that they're working at, that they're at. If the smaller guys, they'll catch up with the growth. But take your time working through that. What you have to think about is, what are my players like? Which ones can I push one way? How can I work with them? And how can I deal with certain things with these ages? And what can I do to get the best out of them at this age? One last thing as a coach, this is when your influence becomes very, very important to these players, because you're like at the younger ages, you're like a father figure. And when I run hockey schools, I love in the younger group, I always have a woman in the younger group, a female coach. One reason is this: for 8, 9 years olds, you know what they really want when they're tired in the middle of the week? They want their Anya. Anya is the Hungarian word for mom. They want a mom, and the girls are fantastic. The females are fantastic for this, to do this. But as they start to get older, they're now looking at the coach not so much as a mother or a father figure, looking more of them as a role model. So, and as a coach, you have the second most influence of any adults on their overall development. Parents are first, teachers are third. This is a well-known information, But the thing is, what you do and what you're pointing out points to the development and the way the kids start doing things. And you know your players, if you think about how their parents influence sometimes, or the influence that they want to get from their parents, sometimes you have more influence over your players. Sometimes some of the better influence. So, and poor teachers, you know, the kids want to come and play hockey. A lot of kids don't want to go to school. So it makes it very tough on teachers. And the thing here is we also have a situation in Hungary that some of the teachers are still around from the socialist age, or they were brought up in that level, and that's the way they teach the kids here. So they're not very nice to the kids neither. Hey, we've got a lot of coaches who do that too. But you have the most influence on them. Like, I'm sure, Leachy, you can tell people here, and anybody who's coached at conference level, national level, you can make kids do things on your team that their parents would never be able to do. Okay, you're 16 years old, you guys have got to go to bed now. It's 9 o'clock in the evening. Okay, coach, that's it. And the parents look at you, how the hell did you do that? Well, they know what the responsibilities are. We already pointed it out to them. Yeah, and that's where we are. That's where we are as coaches. You are now become a role model, and they look at you in that way. Coaches affect the performance level, the motivation, and the enjoyment the players get out of the sport. So if they're not enjoying it, or you're not having that, they're not going to be there for very long. Coaches influence the players both morally and socially on and off the ice. So if you're a coach that's smoking around the dressing room, I know you can't do it, but it used to be in my day, definitely. Then don't be surprised if your players are smoking, or if you're drinking before practice. Don't be surprised if your players start drinking before practice. I won't go into a couple of stories I have about that in coaching a couple places in Britain, but it is a true thing, because what do they think? They don't need to ask. But if a coach is doing something, the player automatically starts to think, okay, this is accepted. This is okay that we can do this. Because there's no do as I say, not as I do. Players can figure that out. They figure out that bullshit very, very quickly, even at these ages. So some things to look at here. Behavior, your behavior as a coach. Wearing helmets. You guys are very, very good at this. You guys have a rule. We can't get it in here, but we're getting more and more teams starting to now have their coaches wear helmets. Wearing a coach suit, wearing positive communication. This was during a Learn to Play program. This guy played semi-pro this year, and this was another. And we had these three guys line up and say, okay, fine. Who's the coach? Well, this is my cohort in the Learn to Play program, Ishti, and this is the way we look at it. No helmet, no tracksuit. We have some guys with no gloves on. No, hey, I was in Australia. Guys were wearing shorts and baseball caps backwards on the ice. Honestly, it comes down to being professional and looking like a coach and looking like that to earn the respect, and so you can give the respect to your players. The standards that you keep, being on time, dressing, being professional, that all comes from the coaches. And Lynch will probably tell you, and any player that's played for me, we started to do a thing about professionalism in the U18 national team in Britain, and that was this. Professionalism starts in your heart and your head way before you start getting it in your wallet. You have to be a professional before you actually start to get paid as a professional. That's a very important thing. So these are the type of things that kids pick up on immediately. Hey, if you're late to practice, yeah, kids are going to think it's okay to be late to practice. Values, respect for everybody, and your values towards winning. Is it win at all costs? Well, at this age, probably not yet. Not ever, actually, but winning has its place in your value system. Example, enthusiasm, tobacco, snus, and alcohol. We've talked about a couple of those. Snus is a big challenge that I know the IHF are going with, and also they're having a challenge we're having a challenge in Hungary with it, where we're going after it too, trying to stop people from taking snus. But there's a lot of people that do, a lot of players that do, because it's supposed to be really cool. It's kind of disgusting actually to me, but That's me. I also don't smoke. Wish I could say I didn't drink, but that's another story. But with snooze, so these are the type of things, but whatever you do, players will pick up on that. Players will know, well, if he's doing that, then it should be okay for me to do that. And these are things you have to be very careful, because players, no matter what you're saying, they'll pick up on the actual signals that you're giving. Okay, that's the end of the first one. This afternoon, I sent Lynchy, and I'm also going to send it to Barry too. All the information from the stuff on Tuesday. I'll do the same with these presentations. If you need any of the videos that we'll have in here, I'll make sure I'll send those to everybody. I'll send them over so they can be distributed to everybody too. So
yeah, these will be going out. These presentations will be going out on our YouTube channel as well.
Good. Right. Any questions? I'm great, John. How are you? Okay. What I'll do is I'll go through the next section. What I've got extra I've done 2 extra presentations if we have time. One is about the kids testing program that we have here, and it's not really tests, just drills to help develop their skills. And also a thing about cross-ice hockey and off-ice training too, just very small, that can maybe give you some ideas. If you need any or want any more information, I can give them to you. So what I'll do that at the end. I'll go through the age specific for under 14s, under 15s, and then we can go from there. Okay. So missed the one I want. Yep. Okay. Going back to the very first presentation, what are we looking at? We're looking at developing the person. That's one of the things. Eventually we develop the player. But if you look at what we talked about on the last section, we're also looking at developing the athlete too. Look at developing the person to be a good person who has good habits, on time, respectful, good with people. Because I don't know what it's like over there now in Britain now, but I know when I first moved to Britain, which was 1979, the hockey players were thought to be the lowest of the low and the scumbags in the rink, because they were the ones that would be swearing, cursing, breaking things, running around. And that eventually, those things did happen, of course, but eventually after a while, those habits disappeared, but the thinking about it didn't. And what you want to do, we're lucky here because most rinks here are just hockey rinks. There's a little bit of figure skating, but we have shared facilities. You want to be a good user and have people know that when your youngsters show up, that's fine. Nothing's going to be broken. There's going to be no problems at all. They'll be well behaved. They'll be respectful. And they'll be good people. And that's the thing that we got to be looking at as coaches. We can start that right from the beginning. Once again, our first priority is understanding and teaching the fundamental skills. The end goal is good offensive hockey with a solid base built from the individual skills. Training means a systematic increase of performance towards a goal. Unplanned training can be seen as therapy for the participants, is completely inadequate for long-term perspective. Yes, it's great for the guys to scrimmage all the time, but if there's no goal in what they're doing, then there's nothing. This is where cross-ice hockey is different. If you play cross-ice games in practice, you can put rules in to teach specific skills and tactics and concepts. Though spontaneous activities in sports are very important during childhood and adolescence. I know I ran a hockey school once in Oxford, and it was the very first time the Sean Skinner videos had come out, and we had the kids on the off ice just watch in the classroom. The classroom session was just watching the Sean Skinner video, the first one on stick handling, which was great. We went on the ice, knew what we were going to do, but didn't really have a warm up. I said to the coach I was coaching with, "What do you think?" And he's another guy. You might know him, a guy called Mike Urquhart from Nottingham. And he said, "Daryl, why don't you just let them dangle for a little while?" So we gave them 5 minutes to just do whatever they want. And you know what the kids were doing? They were doing this. They were trying to do the skills they'd seen on the video. They were spontaneously trying to do this, trying to pick this stuff, puck up and do that. And the thing is, nowadays, a lot of kids don't even have this in them. They don't have this spontaneity when they play a sport. So when they come, they're waiting to be told what to do, because at home, mom tells them what to do. At school, teacher tells them what to do. What do you think? I don't know. Well, you should be thinking. So this is something you can do for your players. Give them an opportunity during the practice, not the whole practice, but 5 minutes when they can actually do what they want. There's a few rules in there. We don't shoot at goalies who aren't ready. We don't try and hit people from behind. Put all those type of little rules in, but let them do some things that they can have fun and it's spontaneous. Okay, here's our conceptual approach at this point, and now we're looking offensive and defensive concepts that we look to try and develop. Here we are, where the players were deep now in endurance and starting to get now into the ability for them to actually start to use their strength. So you can actually start probably at this age using their own body weight where they're actually doing strength training. Mobility and speed, they're still coming through. Movement precision, balance, reaction, motor skills have just ended, and basics. At this point here, they can learn basics, but boy, it's going to take them a long time. The automation is right to this point here, right to the 10, 11-year-old. So this is where you should be really working hard on them doing that. There you go. So this gives you a bit of an idea of the areas, especially on physical training, that the players should be working on. Goals and objectives at this age. Goals, obviously, for everything for under 14. Your objectives, know the fundamental age-appropriate skills considering the mental and physical outfit of your players. Now we start going a little bit more on the mental and physical side, not just the pure hockey technical sides. Generate systematic training, quality and quantity, both. Proper instruction and inspiring leadership. Now you're trying to teach them these things and have them do it correctly and have them working through these things in a proper systematic training program. This is a word that we use a lot here in Hungary, systematic. Make sure there's a specific system on the way you do things. Because unfortunately, a lot of nations don't have that. Oh, let's do this. I saw this in Canada. Fantastic. Oh, there's a guy from Germany coming in. Sorry, I won't say Germany. A guy from Austria coming in. He's going to tell us something. Oh, fantastic. And next thing you know, they're doing a lot of different things. But how does all this stuff stick together? There has to be a central core of the way you're actually teaching your players or teaching hockey. So make sure these other things that are coming in from outside can help. But they should be central to the training program that you're doing. Create an environment where youth can learn the appropriate skills to compete. And then now there's a strong concentration on automating the skills. Now the players are right in the center. They're now starting to get into puberty. This is the part now that we're looking at kids of all ages. I don't have a picture here, but I remember I do have a picture from 2010 that we had a development camp with the IHF in Slovenia, in Bled, Slovenia. And there are 4 kids, same age, all 14 years old. There's one kid literally looked 9 years old. There's another one that looked like he was 22. These are all the same age. So this is what you're talking about physical-wise. But what you also have to remember at this age too is not only are we looking physically, we're also looking at emotionally and mentally and maturity. So, you know, how do we know that the kid who's the smallest might be the most mature of all these youngsters? And the kid who's one of the youngsters who's really tall and big and strong, he's got the maturity of he doesn't have any maturity. He's the maturity of an 11-year-old. You have to find that out from your players. Now, the only way to do that is to talk to them, get to know them, and see where they are in that development process of all areas of their life. Trying to get ready to train. This is where we're at. Building the physical engine and develop the fundamentals. Now we're looking at aerobic capacity, anaerobic capacity, anaerobic alactic capacity. These type of things that we're starting to do a little bit more of that, start to develop that. So while they're doing this, they're also getting the fundamentals of the game too, but they're now starting to get the physical skills to be able to play the game. Develop strong adaptive technical skills. Automize as much as possible. Now it's becoming, if he's over here and somebody does this, he does this automatically without thinking. Begin to become more dedicated and specialized in hockey late in this stage. This is the part now, as I showed 2 days ago, where we start to put the kids into our national team program. And there's a big dedication. They start to become more and more dedicated to being hockey players. This is where, yes, I played other sports, but now I'm not playing other sports. I'm now starting to concentrate more and more on hockey when you start to get to be about 14 years old, 14, 15 years old. Automization, this is the bottom part here. Already automizations can be lost during big changes in the body, like puberty, growth periods. Of course, they start to become uncoordinated and all that, and they have to work slowly at getting them back. But the other thing about automization, under pressure in games, nervousness, tiredness, the first thing to be affected is the fine motor skills. These automatic skills start to disappear if they're not strong enough. The players don't have them. During a game, when there's a lot of pressure on them and they're nervous, they're worried, they're very tired, first thing to go with the head and the hands. These are the things that we're talking about when we're talking about automization skills. So make sure the players have nothing that they can get through these periods. Building the engine and consolidating the sports skills. So the kids now start to be physically stronger, but they also start to be physically fitter too, and they get used to it. Why do we teach off-ice training here to 8-year-olds and 9-year-olds? You know why? Because it's culture. So when they're 20, they're used to doing this. When I first started coaching the Great Britain under-18 team, I'd seen it. I didn't know anything about off-ice training. We go to this tournament in France, and the French team is running around the top of the building doing all this stuff like that. Holy shit, what are we gonna do? So I turned to the physio in the team. I said, do you know anything about this? He goes, yeah, I can run them through something. So he did it. He got the players going. But no, the worst thing is I started to learn. But a lot of times I've seen national team players, they go to junior national teams, they start to do off-ice training, I think, then they go back to their normal team, their league team, and first day they start stretching, and the boys used to come in and go, oh, look at so-and-so. Isn't he stupid? What are you doing? What are you doing? Forget about that stuff. And that's the culture that wasn't there in those days. I hope that's changed, and I would trust that it probably has. But it's getting the cultures of the kids maybe getting there 15 minutes earlier to just do a little something. The Finns have a great way. I think I said it the other day, is train, off-ice training, go get changed, go on the ice. Some kids in our hockey school will do it with their long johns on, so they can go straight down and put the rest of their equipment on immediately. And that's a way of actually doing the off-ice training, but being warmed up to be able to go on the ice. And it's all culture the whole time. Play hockey most of the time, but practice multiple sports. This includes inline skating, floorball, soccer, football, basketball, handball, water polo, all these other sports. And even some other sports that aren't directly team sports, but can actually have skills that our players can use. Just something so they're active and they're developing some skills, that combine skills and work skills that they can actually bring back into playing hockey. Now at this point, we can combine. We have combined in separate practices for team by position. This is where we can spend a little bit of time with a defenseman on specific skills for them, on the forwards for certain things that we want them to do, and the way to do that. Also, obviously for the goalies, but the goalies usually are doing this from an even younger age. But now we can actually spend a little bit more time as the players it starts to become obvious which position they are playing, which they want to play, or maybe which position they're best at playing. Give time for individual work on ice. Stick handling where the kids can do as they want in a zone, just stick handling and all that, trying to get pucks off each other, give pucks to each other. And then the appropriate off ice trading. This is one of the challenges I've had. I've been to places where, okay, what are we gonna do? I don't know. Let's give them a football. I've seen enough kids break ankles during football matches at off ice training. And it's a waste of time. It's not good. You can do a lot of the drills that you're doing on the ice. You can actually do some of the stuff off the ice, very much the same, or at least with the concepts and them doing. It doesn't all have to be running and lifting and do this, you know, playing stick handling and do those type of things. I've got a video on the presentation I got next, which will show you some of the stuff that they can do. Here's under 13, under 14. Once again, about the same amount. The top two are about the same. Training calendar about the same. Numbers of players approximately the same. Games and tournaments go up. One thing I didn't mention on the last one, but with the games and the tournaments, is these are competitive games and tournaments. Our numbers have been low this year, but usually our kids at this age are playing 40 odd games a season. Been a little bit lower because of COVID and the way they've had to do things. And I know that's always been a challenge I had in Britain, especially as you get above under 16 when they should be playing more games and they're playing less games. But obviously, if they're playing more games, they should be having more practices too. Technical development. Continue to refine skating skills so it's automated. But to keep working on skating skills. You can never learn to skate too much. But I've got a couple of videos of stuff that we put on over here. And we've had a couple of coaches who are teaching to skate, and you twist and turn, and you put your elbow on the ice and you skate on one leg with your knee on the ground. Well, you know what? How many players skate with their knee on the ground? How many players skate with their elbow and their shoulder on the ice? None I know. Start specifically when you're doing training and teaching skating skills. Work on the basics. Skating, striding, balance, edge control, those types. And then eventually when they're good enough and they have that high level, then maybe they can do some of these fancy circus tricks. There's a lot of people making a lot of money teaching kids circus tricks when they can't do it. And really, where does it fall in unless you're doing it twice a week, 3 times a week, like a lot of guys in North America do. And it doesn't help if a player can't skate properly to start with. So teach the thing properly and simply. It doesn't have to be complicated to be good. Continue to develop the overall technical skills. So we constantly work on stick handling and practicing, passing and receiving. Passing, receiving the puck, and not doing the little stick handle thing before you pass it again, receiving it, passing it someplace else. So these are the type of automated things they get used to. Same with shooting. When you get the puck, you do a little thing with your stick, just get it in position, then shoot it, snap it away. Encourage players to develop the skills of each position so they have a more overall game. Obviously, skating forward, skating backwards, knowing what they should be doing in zones and where they should be doing. And then eventually, of course, start to introduce specific position skills. For tactical development, repeat and improve the individual tactical skills. Playing and knowing the basics in both the wing and defense positions. Great support concepts. Keep the puck in the team and somebody either block for him or open up some areas so he can pass him the puck. Defensive concepts, like if they have the puck, go get it. If the other guy has if the other team has the puck and you have somebody there, you stay with him. Introduce basic team systems in the defensive zone coverage, aggressive forecheck and angling. Doesn't have to be anything more than that. Stay with your man. If you're nearest the puck, go get the puck. We capture the puck as soon as possible and introduce active read and react play and attack penalty killing. So now we're getting a little bit more specific into this. Now we're starting to get a little bit more at this age teaching penalty killing, power plays, and that we start to work around the 13, 14 age level. Introduce power play concepts without specific individual positions. Encourage flexibility and initiation. I'll tell you something about power plays. Here's my thinking towards power plays. First of all, we don't teach it too early. When you get to about like 15, 14, 15, then maybe we can start doing this. But if your players can't pass the puck and definitely can't receive the puck, then you don't have a power play. That's what power plays are all about. So if you have two guys that can pass and receive, put them next to each other on the power play. If you have three, put the three on the one side of the rink or across the top so they can all pass to each other. The other two crush the net. If you only have one, give him the puck, everybody pushes people out of the way and lets him go to the net. It's not difficult, but the thing is, you cannot have power plays if the players can't do this, the initial basic skills, the technical skills. And the technical skills, we're not talking about thinking, we're not talking about moving, we're talking about passing and receiving is the number one thing to start with. And then concepts, if they're good offensive players, they can start to work on it themselves and start to sort that out. Emphasize transition play, offensive and defensive, defensive to offensive. So what are we doing? How do we back check? How do we break? How do we start to get the puck? You know the best breakout? Quick up. Nothing fancy. Get the puck to the next guy. Get the puck up the ice and let's go. Defending, get back, get down the middle, and take away the neutral zone from them as quick as possible. Those type of things. Emphasize quality playing habits in everything. That's quality. They're doing it correctly. You know, I don't know if you've ever seen the don't give a shit passes that kids can give. Just, I don't care if you didn't get that, but I hope I get a really good pass when I get it. No. Make sure you're passing the puck so it's perfect so he can get it. So you can receive it. When you receive it perfectly. When you shoot, try and put the puck where you want to put it. Everything done correctly. Do the drill correctly. These are playing habits. These are practicing habits too. On ice, we should be looking at around 70% individual and offensive tactics, skills, and concepts, and 30% defensive skills, tactics, and concepts. Encourage the flexibility of positions once again within the game. Encourage to be able to play all positions. And that is kind of, honestly, that's kind of easily done during practice. If you play cross-ice hockey, 3-on-3, 4-on-4, something like that, then everybody basically has to play every position. Because attack is a 4, defend is a 4. So you are playing those positions. Here's planning for your basic practice. Fly skating, teaching some pure technical skills, shooting, passing, stations even at this age, small area games, cross ice small area games, scrimmage with some kind of a theme. You can go cross ice, small area in that, or a full ice, and then competitions at the end. Here's some points to consider. Key points: tempo. Keep the tempo high and keep it proper. You know the best, easiest way to do it when you come with practice? Start your practice hard and fast and quick. If you start doing it where people are stretching and taking your time, then all of a sudden you're working hard to try and get kids to actually start to get better and better. And it might take you 10 minutes before they get up to the level that you want them to get it to. So start practice with something hard. 5-on-5, keep away the puck, or play a game of tag for the younger age. So they're working hard all the time. Okay, get your sticks lit now. Let's go. Poof! All of a sudden you've lifted the level higher, and that's the level that you're starting from for the rest of your practice. Rhythm when they're skating. Rhythm, arms and legs, quick feet and mobility. So we do a lot of transition, a lot of things forward to backwards, backwards to forwards. Passing, shooting, receiving, all kinds of puck control. Accuracy is everything, yes. Make sure they do it correctly all the time. Make sure you hit the man with the pass. Make sure that you're shooting in the right way. Soft hands, but be strong with the puck. If you're going to receive the puck, show where and how you want the puck. Get the stick on the ice, give the guy a target. You know, I've seen I've done it myself actually, seen coaches, if a kid has a stick in the air, you shoot the puck at him. Well, that's where your stick is. Well, no, don't shoot it at him, you pass it in the air to them. There you go. That's where your stick is. Get the stick on the ice. Puck tempo. You can pass quicker than you can skate. You can shoot faster than you can pass. Shoot to score. And we'll go through something that in a minute. Rebounds. Make sure players are looking for rebounds. Lots of kids shoot. How many drills do we know that we shoot and then the kid goes to the corner, doesn't go anywhere in the net? No, well, if he does that in the game, you're not going to be very happy, are you? So if he shoots, go to the net. Right to the net. Go for the rebound. Hunt a rebound. Every single day I'm in practice. Bring them back, explain it to them, do it again. You'll see if we do the tests, we have a test where the kids are skating around, no pucks at all, and we have them go and skate to the net and stop in front of the net because that's where the rebounds are. Go beyond your limits. Learn by your improvements and your mistakes. So if a kid skates really hard and he falls down, he's learned what he can't do. So now he has an opportunity to keep working so he can do that. And once kids learn any type of skill or any type of drill, once they learn, now it's about tempo. Once they can do it correctly, they should be going quick, should be going full speed, faster than full speed, pushing them all the time, making sure that they're doing this as quick as possible and still doing it technically correct. Things to consider: game sense, one movement ahead. Where am I? What are my teammates doing? What should I be doing? Good habits: accuracy, skate and pass hard, win battles, and get loose pucks. Shoot to score, drive the net, and for rebounds. Pressure the players, close the gap, win the puck. Read and react. So you see what's happening, read and act. So you go and see what you get. Sorry. See what's happening, and then you act towards it and actually work it so you can actually get the puck or stop the play. And don't throw the puck away. Don't give the puck away. If you work hard to get it, why are we giving it away? Keep it so we can continue to keep it. We can try and score. Hey, this is a little bit older than this group. This is the Swedish under-17 team. Watch this practice, then so one in the middle, guy drives the net, shoots, other guys there throw open. Guy in the middle, guy on the left-hand side gets the puck, one times it. This is coming out, and below the zone line, trying to score. And now, this one here, one-timers, no matter which side they're coming from. This one here, backhand shots. Backhand's close to the net. Not one-timers, but taking it and shooting it all in one movement. The man with the video here, he's got an iPad here. Okay. Anybody know what the theme of that practice was? Shooting, yeah? No. Theme of that practice was scoring. Scoring. Now, we are talking about 16-year-old kids who have learned how to shoot. So always understand, once you start teaching technical skills, you get them to a certain point. Now we can take that to a different level. You can take, and what they did there, that is scoring. So all those are looking to shoot and score. And if you see, basically, the poor goalies don't stand a chance in those practices. I was lucky enough to go and see them 2 years ago, that camp, and the goalies are good, really good, but didn't stand a chance the way these 16 and 17-year-old kids can shoot the puck. It's just unbelievable. But that's the way they've been taught. They've been taught to shoot under all situations, all pressures like that. You also see the guy with the video. There's usually in it. When we were there was 3 guys on the ice with iPads, videoing what was going on, and they had 6 guys that they were dealing with. Not the goalies. The goalies had their own coach, and they would bring the players over and talk to them. And we found out afterwards, all they talked to them about was positive. Hey, you know how we're supposed to be doing this? You did that perfect. See how you used that edge? Great. You know how you were doing? Just the things. And usually on most of those drills, there's only 2 key teaching points that they're looking at by the time they get to that level. Not a load of things, just narrowing it down so the players are concentrating on one thing, 1 or 2 things, and the coaches are concentrating on 1 or 2 things. So they would bring them back and they would show the kids right on the ice what a couple of things that they did well. That's what we talk about, positive coaching. That's positive coaching, but it's also reinforcement with the stuff. They would then sit down afterwards and go through a lot of the stuff. Our U16 national team coaches 16s, 15s, and 14s. He does this every single practice. He videos every practice, breaks it down, does it over lunch, and then the kids sit down in the afternoon. And with 40 kids, they go through everything, what was happening during practices, some good examples, some bad examples of what was going on. Mostly good examples. So, but thinking about it, they're concentrating on the positive things and working on the things that aren't so, that they need to work on the not so good things. Yes. We've been through most of these. Here's a couple of things here. First of all, repetition we talk about all the time. Here's another. Make sure players can handle skills and handle the drills. When Jim first came to Hungary, they had drills during practices for national teams where there was like five passes. But the kids, after 2 or 3, the drill broke down. And he kind of said to them, well, if they can't make 2 passes, if they can't make 3 passes, have them make 2 passes. If they can't make 2 passes, have them make 1 pass. If they can't make 1 pass, have them just carry the puck. And we teach them how to pass and receive in other situations. I had a coach here. Sorry, like I said the other night, I was going to talk a lot about Hungary. I'm sorry, but I had a coach here on my first year here when I was reviewing practices. Have a girl who was on this team, who was translating for me, say to me, I'm sorry, we are so shit that we can't do the drills. She had to say that to me. That's what the coach thought. It wasn't his fault his players weren't skilled enough and for his drill. It's that he couldn't adapt his drill and he hadn't taught his players. That's a really bad state of affairs. And there's a lot of coaches that think like that. Oh, my coach, my kids are crap. They can't do anything. So whose fault is that, coach? Think about it a little bit here. And if it's you that should be teaching them, teach them so they get to that point. So these are the things to remember. And if they can't do the drills, either adjust the drill or get rid of it and put something else in there. When we're talking about separating skills, it was offered the other night. What happens if you have multiple different skills? Separate them into equal skill levels. Because we all know if you have 3 skill levels, the top of the second one is always almost as good as the bottom of the first one. So maybe we can move him around week. Here's the final thing, summary. Know what the skills are at this age. Be very systematic. Go step by step through the way you're trying to teach things. Just like I said, you look at power play, break it down. If kids can't pass the puck and receive the puck, you don't have a power play. So teach that. They can do that. Then they can start to think and go from there and figure out how to go to the net. Generate systematic challenging activities and proper instructions. Increase the difficulty level, simple to difficult. As they start to get things in, then we can add things in. Keep up good habits and competitiveness. And of course, enjoy yourself. Okay, let's stop the share here. There we go. Okay. Are there any questions, or do you want me to go on to a couple of these other things?
I've got a quick one actually, Daryl. First of all, it's nice to see how you're still talking about the use of small area games and small area drills as the kids go through the age groups. Yep. I think it's one thing. I think we've probably discussed this before. It took us in Scottish ice hockey a little bit longer than some of the bigger countries to first of all buy into the small area games and small area drills and things like that. But I think a common problem we still have is once kids get to maybe once coaches get to the under 14 age group, they tend to think that the small area stuff has to stop and it's all full ice drills. So first of all, that was quite refreshing. The question I've got is on that under 14 presentation there. One of the slides was saying how you teach kids to know the basics in wing and defensive positions. Mm-hmm. What about center positions? Is that something you introduced later, or? Yes,
but the center, where do you put your best players? Center or defense usually? Because the center is going to have the puck most, or the defenseman is going to have the puck most, and that's what. So the center kind of is your best player that you can actually show him, and he can usually figures it out himself. But the wingers is that you don't have two guys on one side of the ice, or how if a space is open, somebody has to move into that more open space.
Yeah. Okay, that was just an observation. That was all. That's only one. That's only one from me.
Okay. This is a very important age. I mean, you're talking about cross area. I'll show you a couple of things. But cross area, I didn't get it. I didn't get any from our U16 practices. But our U16s, all their practices at the moment are cross ice. Our small area games. You know, they have.
I think one of the best examples I ever saw. By the way. I think one of the best examples I ever saw was when we had Bob Caldwell over here a few years ago. And he showed a small area game with 10-year-olds that played in his own rink in Manitoba, and then he showed an NCAA team. It was University of Michigan playing exactly the same game. Exactly. And I think that's what your 10-year-olds and 21, 22-year-olds playing the same game. I think that that was a really good message to send home to our coaches here, that small area games don't just apply to kids 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. They keep going right throughout their hockey career.
What's boring? Boring standing still, holding your stick, doing nothing. That's coaching, being an assistant coach a lot of the time too. But a lot of kids are assistant coaches, just standing there doing nothing until they have their 20 seconds that they can do the drill, and then stand there for another minute. There's no learning in that. You know, there's nothing to teach. That's why cross area. That's why small area or station practices are so good for this type of situation. You know, and you see what's being said there. You don't do it for the whole practice. You do it for a majority of the practice, so you can get your skills in, you can get some of your tactics in, or some of your concepts in, and then as they get older, you can play a little bit more half ice, maybe even some full ice stuff. So you can combine it, because basically I did a lot of stuff over here when I first came here on activity trackers, on what's happening during things. And if you go into USA Hockey, actually the ADM coaches, they have an activity tracker that you can put onto your phone. It's not as complicated as the one I used, but you do that. You know what the percentage rate for hockey in most countries is, and it is here, 38% activity rate during a practice. That's it for one player. See, as coaches and parents, most parents kind of got it figured out sometimes, but coaches, we think, oh yeah, there was lots of activity. No, you had 15 kids out there. Of course there's going to be activity. But a lot of kids are standing still during that time. You put them into small areas and they practice in small area stations. They're active more of the time. That's one of the most important things, is getting the repetitions. This is how you can get in a 60-minute practice. You can have control of the puck for 20 minutes. One of the things I learned from these things, you've seen the information years ago, Steve, is that our average skating backwards during a practice was 3 minutes in a 50-minute practice. 3 minutes.
Yeah,
because we don't spend time. You don't spend time. You don't think about it. A lot of kids they don't skate backwards.
Yeah, Barry and I have taken that presentation that you gave us a few years ago, but we've actually put it in the level 1 course.
Yeah. Did I get my money for that or what?
Oh, yeah, I sent the check in the post. Huh?
Thank you. I got that. Yeah, Hungarian mail is just shit. I'll tell you.
You didn't that same file transfer as you sent those documents.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that's important for us is we don't have a lot of ice time as well, so it maximises ice time.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what, I've got this on, and we can talk as I go through this presentation. One of the things I decided to try and do, of course I didn't open it, that was, let me find it, is do a little bit about cross ice training as we have it here, or as I've seen in many other countries. And also a little bit about off ice training, which is something, as I said, I'm not particularly good at, but I have learned an awful lot over the period of time here, because I know it's one of the weaker areas of my coaching ability. Okay. Okay. All right. Let me just stick this up and share this. Quite a few videos in this, so you don't have to listen to me speak. Just some points to consider. Use of small areas, games and stations increases the player's involvement during practice. They're always active, and they get plenty of repetitions. Speeds up the learning process because they got plenty of repetitions. But you know, the funny thing is, you can have more players on the ice, but you can have them in smaller groups, which is a little bit of an oxymoron, but it's true. 50 kids on the ice, split into 5 groups. That's 10 kids per group, not 50. And that's the thing, is now obviously you got smaller numbers that you're working with, and they get more repetitions in here. They learn at their own speed, and players get a chance to have the puck. And if you look here, this is a practice from our Skoda camp hockey school that we're hosting again this year. We didn't have it last year because of the pandemic. We've had it for 4 years before that, and now we're going to have it. And this is a practice, I believe you'll see in the next. This is for 14, 15-year-old kids doing this. And the way we usually start the practice, the week, is one corner will be just for goalies, and we'll have 5. So the goalies get their own individual practice in there with the goalie coaches. And as the week goes on, we go to 6. They go to 6 stations. We do it on the younger group too. And the goalies are split between the stations where they need goalkeepers. So here's an example. It's a little bit long, but I think this is our older group on the ice a couple of years ago. I think it's 2018, this one. See, this is them playing tag, backwards tag. You're backwards on one side and you're forwards on the other. So now they're learning to pivot, but they're still having fun and playing a game. And oh yeah, see, the goalies are involved in this too. Not as goalkeepers, as players. Here we go. Here's a quick passing circle. We don't have a circle because the goalies are in this area. So see that little movement? That's the Hungarian movement with the stick there. They got to shooting. Oops. The goalie section that was behind where the when they were doing the practice. It's the passing practice. Couple of stick handling girls sections. And this is our first year, actually. I think this is 2015. Playing a game here. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stations on the ice here. This is probably the 13 and under group, actually. It's in the older group. Then here we are playing cross ice afterwards. In all 3 zones. And the crazy people are up here in the top here. You got to realize it's 42 degrees outside Celsius, and it's something like -4 inside. The parents are standing up there in shorts. So there's one thing. That's for a medium-sized group. Level isn't great, but as I said, we do that at all levels. This is one that was done by Jim when he was in the Ukraine with this was in Donbass, and this team played this is their U16 team, I think. They played in the Moscow League. They're actually a very, very good team, and you'll see it isn't the whole thing, but you see some of the ideas of what's happening. Two players per station. They knew what the drills were. They were expected to do this full speed. So there's loads of stations that the ways you can do this, and it can work at a lot of levels, especially if you want to teach skills, especially if you don't have a lot of ice time. You can work through those things and then go from there. But here, this is one, let's be creative. This was done, we were working with a group of figure skaters, and everybody kind of knows this deal here, having figure skaters into work with skating. So we were trying to put a program together there. So this is one of our best clubs, Sakeshwar Hirma, and they did an under 8, under 10, and under 12 practice for us, and we have 3 stations. So this is the figure skaters working down this end with the players, trying to get them to bend their knees. We have a game going on in center ice. Actually, these are under 10s, right? None are under 12s. And then down here, there was stick handling drill and another game going on. Here's another one. This is a rink that actually isn't far from here. It's in just on the just in the center of Budapest. And I went down for a practice to see them one day. And here's what they're doing: passing drill. Guys working on passing. Over here we got a stick handling drill with a shot at the end. Center we got a skating drill. And then we got a lot of figure skaters on the other end of the ice. This was once a week. They had this. They had 4 figure skating groups and 3 hockey groups. And you know what? There's no upset, no animosity, nothing. This gave both groups extra ice time. This rink here is exceptionally cold. This is -10, -12 during the winter. It is in that building. But there's no reason for not being able to do some things and make things work. You know, this section here, where some of us are used to using figure skaters during our practices, coaches to help. This one here, they did both at the same time. The figure skaters dealt with the figure skaters, and the hockey coaches dealt with the hockey players. And it's a way of using ice creativity that everybody can get some kind of a benefit out of. Okay, some off-ice training. During our hockey schools, we have a guy from Belgium come in called Johan Baloo. He's a close friend of mine, and he works a lot in the Learn to Play program with the IIHF. He does the younger players, and the older players, we're older group, which is 13, 14, and 15 now. We have a guy from Finland called Jarmo Sieno come in, and he does some stuff. The Finns are huge in off-ice training. Here's a couple of ideas. This is what they should be doing. This is kind of what it looks like when the kids are doing it. Here's another one, a little bit more complicated.
That's like me dancing in a nightclub on a Saturday night.
Look at this here.
That's Barry.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, the kids could do that one for sure. But there's a lot of he's very, very good. I'm trying to get him here to work in our federation this coming year. He's coming in for the hockey school, so we're trying to get him employed here. Jarmo's very good. They have some he was a skills coach in Finland for the last 8 years. But it's a lot of these type of things. This is some off-ice training things. This is coordination, pure coordination for your kids, being able to do these things. So, and remember, a lot of our kids can't even touch their toes at the moment. So now it's doing these type of things to try and get them. What's another thing that we have? Oh, here he is. We have a guy who's a phys ed teacher. He's actually the headmaster in this school. And he's also works with the track and field program in Hungary. Yeah, with the javelin and that, but he actually has come into hockey. He runs a hockey program in a place over by Lake Balaton, and they've just got a brand new rink there. And so we asked him if he could do some off-ice training videos for us. This is the shortest one. This gives you, here's a few ideas for you. So it doesn't have to be too complicated. Just here's some ideas that you could use for your kids for practices for off-ice training. put the bagpipes in just for you guys.
There's no sound, Daryl.
Hmm?
There's no sound.
I believe one of these girls here is his daughter, because she's now playing women's hockey. I love this kid right here, because he really likes the camera. Okay, so you heard no music there?
No,
Not too bad. AC/DC. Sorry about that. But
it
that's
happens a lot.
Hmm?
It happens a lot. Well, once people start sharing the screen, they don't get sound. There's something you do. You exit sharing the
There
screen and
is a way
click
of doing
something.
it. Actually thinking about this isn't the first time I've think. Anyway, I'll send that to you too. Christian's put together some great things. But it shows you, doing hockey specific things and other things all at the same time. They're jumping over a stick. What are they doing? They're working on their skating stride, their stick handling a little bit. They're doing some flexibility movements and all that. It's not rocket science, but it's something for them to get to do to get them on. I mean, obviously, the more work they do or the older they get, then there's a lot of other things they can do. We have to start somewhere with some of them going, and that's an important thing on this process. Like I said, I'll send you these videos that are on this one too.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Like I said, the one thing I was amazed here is that they do have a real culture for doing off-ice training. It's not very good, but it's a culture, and they're getting some of the kids. So the kids are used to it. It's not even a thought. When we were in Sweden, the players like you, 16 and 17-year-old boys coming in, and what did they have? They had their special running shoes, because that's what they're going to do, running all these. They have to run loads and loads during and testing all that. They had special shoes just for running it. They had other ones just for lifting it and doing things like that. And now at our camps, U14, U15, U16, they're teaching kids how to lift weights. Very small weights, because they're big into kettlebells over here. So they have the kids working, showing them how to do squats with kettlebells, how to do deadlifts with them, how to put it up onto the shoulder, doing cleans, just quickly, not teaching them to lift weights, teaching them what the mechanics are for lifting weights. That's the most important thing. To get the mechanics right to start with, then as they get older and stronger, then they can start to lift weights. But you can't jump them in. But the kids are used to that already. They're used to doing things. So now, even now, we gotta lift weights. Oh, I've never done that, but we'll give it a try and go from there.
Yeah, definitely. Guys, before we think about wrapping this up, has anybody got any questions? The chat box has been quiet tonight.
Yeah, it has been. Got everybody gone off to sleep, probably. Don't blame them.
We saw one guy having a little nap in his chair tonight. Barry, you got anything? You've been quiet tonight as well, Barry. You had a hard day at work. Or you're on holiday.
Hard day on holiday.
It's just this is an important thing that we all talk about in hockey. What should we be teaching our kids at the certain times? And there is a specific thing that all the better nations follow. This is from Sweden, changed it, but you go to Canada, same thing. Go to the USA, same thing. All the nations are teaching basically the same skills at the same time. So if you're not doing that, if you're trying to push forward too quickly, then you're not really following the process. And there's a process that you should be trying to follow and trying to do.
Yeah, I think the thing for us is we're a nation of know better. We always know better. And
I didn't know the Scots were part Hungarian. Jesus.
yeah,
No,
I
they're
think
they know a lot better, actually. Yeah. Yeah.
we just have this thing where we get told something is the way to do it, and then we go and do our own variation of it. And
That's a challenge that we've had here, but it's like with our presentations, you know, and we've come up with this thing is if we're going to follow a plan, follow a plan. You can put some of your own little parts into the plan and off the, but it shouldn't be your parts and then a little bit of the plan is just added into it. No, that's not the way it works. If you have a plan, then if you put your own personality, let's face it, nobody can do a presentation like me because I'm not saying I'm good, but there, and thank God there isn't very many Daryl Eassons around, and I can't do it the same as a lot of other good coaches and good presenters. Well, that's the way, but the material's still the same, and that's an important thing. The materials should be the same, and then you do it in your own way, and you work things your own way.
No, I think the good thing is we're learning. You know, like I say,
I was pleased to hear that the other night, Stephen. That you guys are doing cross ice. You're happy with that and working with it. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, the big thing that we've got to try and put across to coaches now is what I was saying, 10 minutes ago there. We still have this theory where once kids get to about 13, the small area stuff's not applicable anymore. That's maybe the next challenge that we've got through Scottish ice hockey. It's making them understand.
Here's a question for you guys. You don't have to answer it, but just think about it. Have you ever been to a practice of whatever age, and all the kids are in one corner, and by the end of the practice, there's no one skated on the other end of the ice. There's hardly any skate marks on the other end of the ice because the coach is working and all this. So what does that mean? It means a lot of people have been standing around, because we have to do this. Yes, the game is played full ice, but hey, football is a pretty big sport in Scotland, I think. Do they play full? Do they practice? When they practice, do they play and do drills? Do they do full pitch? No.
No, I know you're right. Yeah, and the example,
no, you're right too.
The small area stuff, it's like tennis where they've made the court smaller, and basketball where they've made the nets lower, and things that all applies. It took us a little bit longer to get a good understanding of that, but we got there. We've got there with the younger age groups. Like I say, now it's time to sort of educate to make the older age group coaches understand that the small area stuff's still very relevant. We've actually got a couple of questions come in. One from David Bax. Darl, any tips on getting the kids / parents to buy into off-ice training at home, etc.?
Well, there's a lot of videos online of hockey players actually training off ice. That's the first. And you got to realize, yeah, it's for hockey, definitely, but it's also for fitness too, because like this country here is a little bit different than yours. How many PE sessions do your kids get a week?
I think it depends on if they take it as a chosen subject or not.
Hungary, by law, a child has to have 5-hour-long sessions a week. 5 1-hour-long sessions a week, every week of school. Switzerland, it's 3. Right up until Charlotte was 18 years old, she was still taking 3 PE sessions a week. So I'm not saying one country's better than the other, but we know that's better for them. So if your kids aren't getting it at school, where are they getting that fitness from? Where are they getting that activity of doing those type of? That's the first thing. Is not on the hockey side, on the better for the person side and the better for the physical fitness side of the child. That's the first thing to get to see. Get people to understand. That's what I would work on. Kids are only getting 1 PE session a week or 2. Well, if they do 2 off ice, let's face it, those 4 count with the 1 or 2 ice sessions on things getting them better at what they're trying to do to be a hockey player too.
Yeah. Okay.
Here's the question they say in America. Well, in America, they say they spend a lot of their time based on Sweden and Finland, and they say, and especially Finland. And the question goes, how does a country of 5 million people and 60,000 hockey players, how come they're one of the top 3 to 4 nations in the world compared to one nation that's got 330 million people and have 400,000 hockey players. Another nation that's their national sport, they have 40 million people and they have 500,000 hockey players. And another nation that's got 110 million people and they've got 100,000 hockey players. And here's this little nation with 5 million and only 60 to 70 million people, 60 to 70,000 players. How do they keep up? And how they keep up? Doing off-ice training. The Finns are animals at it. They're so leading and doing this thing. That's where they get. That's why they have got where they are. The Swedes are exactly the same too. They're more on the even more testing side of these type of things. It's an important side, but to try and get people to understand that, hey, I've been out of coaching for 15 years. I finally figured it out. It's taken me that long to understand how important off-ice training is. If you can get your kids to do it, it'll make a world of difference, especially if you can add fitness training and hockey-specific training at the same time in that off-ice training.
Yeah. Two more here. One from John. How do we remove the coach's competitive desire at young age groups, but keep developing it in the kids?
You're not allowed to own guns there, are you? So
very similar to a question we had on Tuesday night, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I wasn't on Tuesday
night.
No.
It's a good question, Johnny. It's one of the things is you have to take the emphasis off. I mean, first thing to do, stop keeping score. Stop having tables, winners and losers at U9 and U11 hockey. That's what I would say.
So I guess, and I popped in the question there for the guys from Scottish Ice Hockey as well. Is that something we would consider?
The questions come up a lot, and obviously you'll be aware one of the problems in Scottish hockey is the games that finish 20-0 and 25-0. I think that's the bigger problem, is trying to take away games of that magnitude and try to improve the standard across the board so that doesn't happen. You're always going to have coaches that are more competitive than others. You're always going to have coaches that want to develop, and you're always going to have coaches that not necessarily have a win at all costs mentality, but they want to win. Barry and I we speak about it regularly at the level 1 and level 2 coaching seminars, when we're bringing new coaches into the sport in Scotland, that winning is not the be all and end all. It's nice. Don't get me wrong, it's nice. But is it, like Darl said it earlier in his presentation, is it important if your under 10s or under 12s win the league? No, not at all. Doesn't matter one bit. It's more important. I would say it was more important to have that under 12 team develop to win the under 18s league. That's important. I would say an under 12 league, does it really matter? So what we're looking to do, the new proposal for the under 11s league that obviously never got up and running this year was teams must have 15 players on each team. It must be an even 3 lines, so they can't double shift players and things like that, because it's the things like that that create those 15-0, 20-0 games, because some players get more time than others. We've spoken about for that under 11s league, the color tape on the helmets, the line 1 are red, line 2 are blue, line 3 green, so on and so forth. So everybody gets that equal ice time and everybody gets the same opportunity to play and things like that. So yeah, we are working it. I think to go a little bit deeper in your question, John, without going too deep, I think a bigger problem that we have right now is the fact that we have games that are 20-0 or 15-1 or something like that. And those are the first things we've really got to eliminate. If we can create a level playing field or a semi-level playing field across Scottish ice hockey, then I think the competition would be great. If you've got 10 clubs that are all roughly of the same ability, whether we ever manage to make that happen or not, I don't know. It's a tall order, but that's a more pressing problem that we're trying to change. I hope that answers what you're asking.
I think for me, I was just going to say that rather than removing the competitive desire, it's more redirecting it. Yep. And putting it towards, well, how many of your players went on to make a national team? How many of your players go on to, be professionals or be senior players, or or whatever that sort of goal is. Like Daryl was saying earlier, I like that piece. I'm going to keep that one, Daryl.
Yep.
But yeah, I think if you refocus that competitiveness amongst coaches away from winning and losing and more against, you know, the development outcomes, then maybe that's part of the answer.
Because the thing is I'll give you a little bit of a twist on this thinking. Is when Jim first came here, people would say, "Oh, come on, watch this. Hey, look at this guy here. He's a good hockey player. He is." And you go, "Is he? Yeah, okay. Has he played in the NHL? No. Has he played in the KHL? No. Has he played in the Swedish league or the Finnish league? No. So I guess your definition of good is better than it's different than my definition of good. And it's like winning in the 14 championship might be the greatest thing in the world, but is it really? You know, what's the thing? Is I won the 14 championship, or we have 10 kids who have made the national team, or 10 kids who are playing in the SHL, or playing in the Scottish League, or playing in the Elite League, or playing abroad in Europe or something like that, or one kid who's got drafted. Those are the type of things that you should be looking at. Or that some kid he's a managing director of a really big company, but he loves hockey so much he wants to come back and be involved. That's what we should be looking at doing. You know, and that's the important side of the sport. Yes, winning is really nice, but it's not the be all and end all. And I know common sense doesn't really work with a lot of people in this situation, but it needs to be pointed out that what's the end goal? And the end goal, and the first night was the end goal on our national development plan is this: it's our senior national team. Our senior national team is more important than our professional teams, of course, because we want to be where you guys are at your senior level in the A pool. Because like I said, tonight our team is playing the Austrians. The game's over now, but it's been on TV. We get lots of TV coverage. We would get way more TV coverage and more money if we were to move up. So that's what our goal is. Well, that's what everybody's goal is, to push kids through and go there. Not that I won the Barcelona championship for under seven kids. And there's some people that hang their hats on that. And hey, we have it here too. We have it here in leagues that they don't even keep score.
I guess maybe asking Steve, you and Barry and you, Daryl, the question is probably, maybe that's the wrong group of people that I should be asking the question. Maybe I actually need to be asking, and we need to be asking ourselves as coaches, what do we do to level the playing field? Because at the end of the day, we're the ones that control what happens on game day. We're the ones that control what happens in the teams as we turn up and how we play. So
exactly.
Maybe all the coaches on the call hate me now, but I think it's a challenge, recognizing the point that you make, Steve, of a level playing field. We're not going to improve our sport or the standard of our sport as one club. We're only going to improve it across the playing field if we improve every club. So maybe it sits within our hands to do something with that and agree a way of working.
Yeah, and the other thing to take out of that is you can never take the competitiveness out of sport. You know, sport is competitive, and kids, players, coaches want to compete. You know, you can't take that away. But yeah, like I say, our primary concern is trying to first of all create the playing field where we don't have these 15-1, 20-0 games happening all over the country, because they're not good for anybody. They're not good for the team that are winning, and they're definitely not good for the team that are losing either. So
this is the same argument I used to have when I was worked for Ice Hockey UK, and we were putting cross ice hockey in the Learn to Play program, and people were saying, "Oh, it's not real hockey," and it's Jesus. And then I thought, okay, I kind of think I know what I'm talking about. Let's check and see. So I looked at the scores in England for their under 10 league. And one team won games 44-0, 48-0, 27-0, and 13-0. Well, for me, those aren't real hockey games either. That's the first thing. Do you know what the return score? And they were all away. Do you know what the return scores for those 5 games were? 5-0. The other team refused to show up. So now we have 2 teams of players that didn't have ice time. So who's the winner there? There's no winner in that situation. And it's to make people think a little bit about what are we doing, and why are we doing, and what's the end result of some of these things? You know?
Yeah, we had a game here 3 or 4 years ago. Kilmarnock went up to Elgin. I can't remember what age group. I think it was under 14, and it was 46-0. And Kilmarnock had 12 players, and four of those 12 players were very good. You can't take it away from the fact these kids were good players. But because they only had 12 of them, the majority of those 4 players were playing every other shift.
Yeah.
And it just caused an absolute shitstorm within Scottish ice hockey. And it's what the question ever since has been, what can we do to change it? And it's always going to be difficult when you've got 2 teams that are polar opposite in terms of skill level. There's one team's going to win comfortably, but you know, do you create a mercy rule? Do you swap players? Do you know what? There's lots of possibilities, yeah, but it's getting everybody to buy in. So
of course it is. We
could talk about that one all night, but it is a good question. Yeah. Last question we've got for you, Darl, from Jamie Easton. I'm coaching under 15s. Any advice on hitting drills or contact drills? I've been to camps in Penticton, Canada. They have a 2-session hitting clinic before the season starts. And if the kids don't do the clinic, then they don't play. Do you do anything like that in Hungary? I think
that's a great idea. What we do during the hockey school, and also the first thing is teaching them how to hit and how to check and how to take a check. That's the first stage. That really has to be done. The second stage is have a federation-wide thing that you start teaching body contact and checking at an age before they need to use it. Under 10s, under 8s. Like I said, in the United States, this starts at 8 years old. They start teaching kids body contact immediately at that age, so they know by the time they get to your player's age is 13, 14, they know how to take a check. They know how to give a check. They've been playing checking hockey for 2 years. Because if you think about when does checking start in Scotland?
Under 15.
Under 15. So that's 13 years old. So let's think we have a kid who's 5 years old. So he plays to the age of 13. That's 8 years he's played where he hasn't been allowed to check or hit anybody. Now we say he can, and he can get hit too. Okay, let's change it a little bit. Let's say he isn't allowed to pass the puck during those 8 years. And now we put him into hockey when he can't pass the puck. What do you think the result's going to be? He's not going to be able to pass the puck. So if we're not teaching him passing before that, he can't do it. Well, checking is the same thing. It's a basic skill. The first stage of checking is body contact, because we're always going to hit each other whether there's checking or not. But you need to start earlier, because that's a big difference at that age. Once they, well, I'm okay, I'm safe, I can do it. Next thing you know, we got 14-year-old kids that are huge, hitting people and thinking, holy Jesus, what's happening? So it's teaching kids. I'm not saying you're picking the wrong age. I'm saying we're not teaching it correctly as coaches. Hey, yeah. I was one of the guys that used to say, if he wants to hit, he'll figure it out. No, that's wrong. That's totally wrong. You have to teach right from the beginning. And the initial thought from Jamie of having a checking clinic, yeah, especially as they start to come into that, because that's the age, you start teaching them. If they've never learned before, you teach them in the beginning of the season. It becomes part of this skill that you have to teach them. It's important, because it's a big part of the game that's actually being added to the game that the players aren't used to.
Yeah, that you pretty much just stole my reply to that as well, word for word there. I couldn't agree more. Jamie, we have Barry and I have the Hockey Canada Programme of Excellence body checking module, which we're going to roll out to everybody in the summer. And it's designed to start teaching kids at the age group below. So it should be rolled out to under 13s, and it starts off with checking is not just body checking. You know, it starts off with stick checking, then it becomes angling, angling's probably more important than actually delivering a body check these days. So everybody talks about getting the angle, stick on pucks, so on and so forth. But it takes you from stick checking to angling through minor body contact, and then taking it on and on and on. And it's to give the kids the confidence of taking a body check and being able to deliver a body check safely as well. And there's advice for kids on where the dangerous areas are on the rink and things like that. That those areas 5 feet out from the boards and that sort of thing. So yeah, that'll be something that'll get rolled out in the sort of summer coaching education program one way or another.
That's one. And I'll go on about USA Hockey. It's 1-2. It's a fantastic program too. They both do good programs. But if you ever look at Sweden's, theirs is a good program too. They're almost all identical depending where you are and where you get. So it's great. If you're rolling something out, that's fantastic. That's a good thing. Yeah,
we'll definitely be doing something like that. There's a lot of stats involved in Europe. Well, not so much in Scottish hockey, but I kind of always follow the Hockey Canada model. I know there's others that are just as good, but there's stats where the injuries occur when body checking's brought into age groups. Yep. And there's also stats where kids start leaving the game because they're maybe not quite ready for it yet and they're forced into it and things like that. So
exactly, that was my attempt at my saying about passing the puck. It's the same thing. It's a similar thing. They're not used to it. Now you can do it. Only it's more dangerous. And we wonder why this happens. Of course, it takes a while for you to figure it out. It's good that you guys are taking that initiative. I've just seen the one comment about maybe we should call it training. I can't disagree with you there. I think that's a great idea. Instead of calling off ice training, we in Hungary are calling the whole program athleticism. That's based on the Swedish way of doing it, which isn't just the training, but it's also the stick handling. It's doing all sorts of things to get players to do it. I know it's always been a challenge. It always had been a challenge in Great Britain to get people to do it, but it's so important to the development for your whole development of your country if kids are actually doing it off ice. So you can doing at least once or twice a week. There's a lot of nations that take it. Most sports do it. It's important. The off ice training is important to get themselves prepared and understand and get them fit for on ice training.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, everybody. That's us for the questions. It's now 10:15. We got some sleepy people. Again, Daryl, on behalf of Scottish Ice Hockey, we can't thank you enough.
You're welcome. I enjoy it.
Can't wait to see what you're going to come on and talk about next week and the week after that and the week after that.
Hey, I'll show you something. Just wait a second. The whole time we've been on, I've been wearing these. I got these at a secondhand store here in Hungary, and you're
wearing somebody's old flip flops. That's kind of gross.
Somebody they got rid of them because of this mark on them. And so here, I said, "Oh no! My dad was Scottish. Those will come in handy." So that's why I'm really pleased I actually got them on now.
Daryl, thanks again. We really love having you here. I could listen to you for hours. Hopefully you can maybe come back and do something with us in the summer again or something like that.
Whenever. Or
maybe once we're allowed to get a bunch of people in a room again, we can maybe look to do a seminar and see if we can bring you over or something along those lines.
That would be great. I'd love to do that. It's fine. Thanks. I'll keep you guys updated with everything that we've got. I'll send this stuff over as we get more stuff, especially as we get into to our hockey camp and all that. But as I get other things, if you need anything, let me know. And if not, if you want anything, just contact us. I can get it to you guys.
Cool. Excellent. Thank you. Perfect. And guys, just before you go, don't be afraid to spread the word about tomorrow's Friday Night Live. Tomorrow's Friday Night Live, we're doing a very risky thing. The kids are going to be the guests. We have no idea what direction that's going to go in. But Barry, Martin and I are going to be interviewing some of the kids and things like that about what they've kind of thought of the Friday Night Live sessions over the last few months and things like that. So
can
please,
I just say now, John,
it wasn't your idea.
Cooper's only getting 2 questions, right?
No. What's better is tomorrow we get to fire questions at him.
You be careful because he'll answer them, and you might not like the answers. You guys need referee stripes for tomorrow night, I reckon.
I'm not quite sure what we're letting ourselves in for yet, but we're going to give it a go anyway. It's going to be our second last Friday Night Live. We've got a pretty big guest lined up. Well, a big-ish guest lined up for the last one. So we're giving the kids a little chance to have their say tomorrow night. So for all you guys that use social media, if you don't mind just sharing the posts and things like that, so we can get as many kids on the call as we can. Okay. So again, thanks very much for your time, everybody, and we'll see you all soon. Okay. Cheers.
Take care, guys. Thank you.
Cheers, folks.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.